the loss of that family precipitated the loss of my career at the time, which was in the ministry. As a full-time women's ministry leader, I felt that it was more than I could manage going back and forth between LA and New York, which was what I was doing, and managing both things, and 2 children and a husband and all of that. So all of that, as I said, really shook me, and then felt like I was stripped me in many ways. And I spent about 3 years of grieving and wondering, what is next? There must be more for me. I'm far too young to call it quits, but what am I going to go do with the rest of my life?
Hi, my friend. Welcome to the 1 Minute to Glory podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra Alvarez. I love to tune in with you every week. This episode, I hope that you feel refreshed, or that it sparks curiosity, or perhaps even gives you a different outlook on life. But at least, I hope that you get something out of it. So have a listen. Are you feeling stuck and unsure of your purpose? Do you dream a life filled with passion and fulfillment, but don't know where to start? Welcome back to the show. This is Alexandra Alvarez. And so I, for one, am a huge believer in the power of coaching, especially group coaching. There's something truly special about a community of like-minded individuals. And after all, God didn't make us to live this life on our own. In today's episode, we will meet Julie, the inspiring and strategic founder of the Live Your Vision program. Julie's program has helped countless women discover their unique strengths and talents and use them to create a life they love. We'll dive deep into the program structure, explore the difference between transformation and change, and learn how Julie helps women overcome challenges and achieve lasting success. So if you're ready to break free from limitation and step into your full potential, surrounded by a supportive community, this episode is for you. So take a listen.
It's so nice to see you, and thank you so much for agreeing to take a little hour of your time in your busy schedule. And so I just wanted to explain a little bit how I met you. About less than 2 years ago, I went to a church conference, and I was just looking at the class schedules available for me. And then I saw this class that really drew me in, and it was a class about women living their vision. So without hesitation, I was like, I'm going to be available and I'm going to go to that class. And it didn't take me too long to really fall in love with your program and to sign in. And it was a very long journey. There was a whole year of, and not an easy one, and we'll be talking about that. But really what it did for me is just all these different pieces of my life that I had experienced. I was able to really look at them and come with a lot more clarity, so that I knew, I may not know everything, I still don't know everything, but at least I have the stamina, the strength to just take my next step courageously. And then all the support that I received from you and your team. And so it was an incredible journey for me. It feels like a full circle moment right now to be here with you. So thank you for joining me.
Oh my gosh, it is such an honor. And honestly, I'm like tickled, like overjoyed, because it's like watching you fly. And from the moment I met you, Alexandra, I knew that you were special. You had so many gifts and talents that had yet to be aligned, I'll say. So many life experiences, but never in the entire time that I've known you, from the very beginning to this moment now, have I ever doubted your greatness. And how much I knew that all that you had been through, the challenges, the pain, the transitions, the waiting, the delay or deferral of hope, none of that did I ever think would be wasted. And I knew it when I met you. You were just an outstanding individual. So I'm so tickled to be here with you now. It's a dream come true for me to be here. So thank you. What an honor.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And so I'm always interested on how things come about in this journey, this Live Your Vision. What is your story behind, and at what point you turned things around for yourself and decided this is what I'm going to do for me?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking me that, because I'm not sure if I shared this with you before, but it was really the sudden deaths of both of my parents And the sad reality of the state of my family at the time, when both of them died suddenly, my brothers began legal battles with me about the estate. And then it shook me, honestly. All of that shook me so much. I had no idea that was what was coming because of the suddenness of both the deaths and the turn with my brothers. And so the loss of that family precipitated the loss of my career at the time, which was in the ministry. As a full-time women's ministry leader, I felt that it was more than I could manage going back and forth between LA and New York, which was what I was doing, and managing both things, and 2 children and a husband and all of that. And we had significant responsibilities in our ministry at the time. So all of that, as I said, really shook me, and then felt like I was stripped me in many ways. And it was an odd time because it was just right before I was about to turn 50. And I spent about 3 years of grieving and wandering is really what I say, wandering and wringing my hands and feeling like, what is that? What is next? There must be more for me. I'm far too young to call it quits, but what am I going to go do with the rest of my life? And so that led me to a journey of my own. You mentioned that we work with women and take them on a journey, but it came from my own personal journey, which was asking myself a series of questions. And those questions were things like, what am I good for? What am I good at? If God left me here, I believed I must have been good for something. What's important to me now? Questions like, what do I even enjoy anymore? And what do I believe? And about 26 other questions that we cover that turned into my program. And interestingly enough, that series of questions, I didn't realize that led me out of my despair, hopelessness, and visionlessness of where I was going, was useful to others. I didn't realize it at the time, but after I walked that journey myself, I had several others reach out to me and say, Julie, how did you do that? And I had to sit and pause for a moment and think, wow, okay, I don't know. Let me sit and think about it. Actually, how did this successful transition occur? It wasn't easy, as you mentioned, but it was lasting and transformative. And that was something that was really important to me. So anyway, that became the basis of the program that you and I got to participate in together and journey with.
That's great. Yes, sometimes we can get stuck in the difficulties that we are facing. And so it was really incredible that you took the courage to look at them and say, okay, this isn't the end of an era type of thing, but then there's the
True.
beginning of a new one. And what is it? It reminds me of the scripture, without a vision, the people perish. You mentioned how you
Yes.
started becoming excited, just asking yourself these questions that were sprouting new things for your life, newness. And so that leads me to another question that I have for you, because since you were facing these challenges, then you recognize then that many women were facing the same as well. And your desire to help others really shows how great your heart to want to help is. But so what recurring, because you've helped now hundreds of women, what recurring challenges and obstacles do you see that women are facing when it comes to living their purpose or having a vision for themselves?
It's interesting you should ask that, but you mentioned it in the beginning when you said how it helped you, but I would say the number one issue is clarity or lack of it. Clarity brings confidence. And without the clarity, we are often confused and discouraged and doubtful and fearful. And so lack of clarity, I'll say, is one of the issues. Lack of confidence that results from that often. Just general fear and insecurity, not knowing their worth. A lack of mental fitness, not having the strength mentally. They haven't trained their mind to be like their bodies, in that they'll be agile and flexible and powerful and strong and enduring. There's a lot of the mental fitness that we work with, but I see that women don't have that mental strength. They're smart. It's not an IQ thing, but it's not there's a difference. And then lack of support. I think a lot of the women, as when I know, that we work with are women that are givers. They are the ones that are supporting everybody else. They are the ones pouring it out. They're the leaders. They're the supporters. They're the givers. They are serving everyone else. and very little back comes back their way. And so they feel
They're left
that.
depleted. In a way.
Yeah, so they're depleted. Exactly. One of the big things I find is women come to me and they're just not only confused and fearful, but also very depleted. And without the clarity, without the power that can come from within, they often just can't execute on what they're hoping for or even discern what it is.
Mhm. Yes, and recently I read the latest book of Gordon Ferguson, who is very prolific in the churches that we go to. He wrote a book, The Women and the Bible, and he mentioned so many great things that I recommend everyone. We actually will be talking about that on another episode. But so you mentioned all the things that women were lacking, which led them to not follow their visions. But in Gordon's book, it also mentioned that both men and women represent together the imago Dei, the image of God. And so, what are the strengths that women, why is it so important for them to live their vision? Not only for, I'm assuming, personal being, which is very important, but what do they bring? What do you see that, why is it so important for them to live out their vision? Because the truth is, Adam alone was not sufficient to represent this image of God.
Exactly.
Women are needed as much as men, and we both together. So, but what is it that you think women bring to the table? And why is it so important for them to have this clarity to move forward and have the confidence to step into their purpose?
Individually, all of us have a unique set of strengths and gifts. So there's no one profile, I would say, for that in terms of who can live their vision. Really, anybody can. It's because everyone is endowed with a specific set of gifts, and everyone has that opportunity, has been given the gift of choice, which is the number one gift on how to exercise those gifts. It's just a matter of most don't often know what they are, or if they do, they're vague and they're not developed. They're not able to clearly wield them, if you will. But in general, for women are often known to be nurturers. They are givers. The statistics are replete with wealth. When women that have discretionary income, the wealth that they make, they use 90% of their income for the good of their family and communities, whereas a man will often use about 30, 35, maybe 40%. So there's obviously a wealth of just the nature of a woman is to use what they've been given and make more with it and to give to others with it. And so those are some of the things. But as far as the perspectives go that I found that are unique to the women that come and are successful, there are several perspectives that they hold. And so those perspectives are that they do, in fact, feel called. Like you said, deep inside, they feel like there's more for them. They're called, and there is something unique and visionary within them that needs to be pulled out and developed. There's a deep and unsilenceable curiosity about it. I feel like that's you. You're like the unquenchable one. You want to learn more all the time. And they have that spirit. The women that are successful have that spirit of deep, unquenchable curiosity, and the hard work and determination to finish it, to follow it through, which they do. They know they need support. They're communal. It's another thing about women. We tend to be more communal and less independent, and that makes for extraordinary access to great power because we know we need support. We need guidance and a pathway to access it. That's a typical common perspective. They also know that what's going to take them to develop their idea or their vision is not just the idea development, but also their own personal development. Women take things very personally. They're very responsible, and usually in the women that I work with. And so as they become more, they give more, they make more, they do more, they impact more. So it starts with them, and they know that. They love that part of it. And they know, I would say, that the opportunity, when they see an opportunity, they just don't want to miss it. They know the timing is right. The women that I work with have sort of their own biological clock ticking. And I don't necessarily mean to have a baby, but I do mean that they know there's a time and a place in history and they need to seize it. And so this is their chance they've been waiting for. Those are the women that I find go for it and have the greatest success.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very insightful. So live your vision. Can you walk us through a little bit the general structure of the course, and you have a specific order? And I love that you start with a small video that kind of introduces what will be the week will be about. It's very intense,
Mhm.
but because it's new every week, there's something new that adds on to the previous week. So, what is that structure and how did you structure it? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. As you may or may not remember, or may not even realize how we moved from one section of the work to the other. But the very first part of the work, and you might remember this, is all about self-discovery, like all about discovering who you are. It's like getting a PhD in you. And most of the women I know, like I said, have studied everybody else. They know the needs of their
Yeah.
children, their husbands, their bosses, their colleagues, their girlfriends, their mothers, their fathers. They know the needs of everyone else, and they're very often last to know about themselves, their dreams, their desires, their strengths, their values, their passions, their beliefs. So we take a deep dive study into you. First section is discovery. The second section is development. Once they recognize and are willing to own and accept these fabulous gifts and talents and values and experiences, now we go into development. How can we make the most of that? And then we move from there into distribution. Distribution is now, what is that going to mean for you? So in essence, your design determines your destiny, but we look at first the design, we develop the design, and then we discover the destiny or the distribution of it. So that's the structure of it.
Yeah, that's true. They were big components and then sub components to every section. And that was very helpful to see the big picture, right? I'm
Yeah.
strategic and I think you have that strength as well.
Yes.
I like
Yeah.
to see the big picture before I dive into the minutia of things, and it gives me actually purpose to dive into it because oh, I know where this is going, so I need to get that component in the next one. And it's interesting because you mentioned that we are so good at understanding by nature everyone else. But what I've found also is that the more I know myself, the better and the more accurately I am to understand everyone else. So it's interesting. I serve others better as I grow myself personally. So I feel like it's since we have that sense, and definitely I do have that sense of responsibility. I need to grow. I need to understand myself because I cannot be the right helper to others if I don't know how to do it myself. That makes sense. If that makes
Oh,
sense.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I do agree. And it's funny because that really does change the game for people getting to, it's funny. They think, oh, this is so selfish. This is so
Yeah.
self-centered. This is indulgent. And it couldn't be further from the truth because of how it, as you mentioned, it impacts every other area of their life and how they're able to interact with others when they know
Yes.
themselves.
So true. So your course is a whole year of intense work, and that can be a little bit daunting for many people. We want, especially in this society, we want fast results. And I was even looking at the numbers of, okay, so how do you change from this habit to a better habit? And the research is quite different for based on who is doing the research. I read things like, oh, in 21 days you can change your habit, and then in 90 days, like the 21-90, and in 90 days it becomes a new lifestyle. But then I see other studies that says no, it's between 18 and 254 days. I don't know how they come on average because it depends. If you've been doing something for decades, it's not going to change
Right.
overnight. And then the implication, and then how many of your waking hours are you spending in awareness and changing these things? There's so, and in the environment, how safe is it? Should I go? So we adapt to our environment as well. So the whole year, why did you select that structure? Is it for those reasons that you want to see change and transformation and it's not going to happen overnight, or is it just so happened that all the steps just take a year? And
I didn't originally start out thinking, oh, we're going to take a year together or we're going to take any specific amount of time together. All I did was start out with, as I mentioned, and you alluded to it, is that I had a certain number of questions that I needed answers to, and how long would it take me to get the answers? And not only get the answers, but create change from those answers. And you're also, what you're speaking into there is the difference between transformation versus change. And change is typically externally driven and creates short-term impact or effect necessary for certain things. Sometimes it's just we need that external to create a change in us to be able to get a certain result.
Like working out.
It's not, yeah, exactly. It's not typically long lasting, however. And transformation, on the other hand, is internal shifts that are smaller typically, but they're coming up from within. They're driven from within. So they create more long lasting, sustainable change. And in my mind, there was no going back. I couldn't go back to who I was. So it required transformation. And I wasn't necessarily like aware of that at the time, thinking that through, but there was nothing to go back to. My family, my job, all of it was gone.
Yeah.
So it required me to transform to a new reality. But what I've realized in that time period is that most of the women I'm working with are looking for a transformation, not a change. We've all tried the diet. We've all tried the whatever it is, the quick fix, as you mentioned, but the women that I'm working with now are like, no, like you reinvented yourself completely from who you were to what you're doing and who you are now and what you're doing. And that was what you were looking for. You weren't looking for just, I need another hobby or I need another something to do in my busy life with a mom, 2 kids, and a realtor at the time. Like you didn't need more in your life. You needed change and transformation. So that's really what I found. And because we're talking about transformation, creating change from within, and it's something that would be more long lasting, honestly, what happens with that is that I found that it actually takes less time if you take a year to create change that has an ROI that continues to give ongoingly, which is why even in our cohort, the cohort that you were a part of, just yesterday, I think it was, Delia is texting about the results that are coming in. It's still producing fruit, the work. And she's not even a part of our group anymore, but it continues to produce fruit. Whereas a change or a quick fix, something shorter, it will last for the moment, but it's over. And so it's not usually what the women that I'm working with are looking for. It wasn't what I was looking for. It's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a reinvention, a totally new chapter. That's why it takes so long.
That's so true. That's true. The transformation versus the change. That's a really great distinction of. So with all the women that I know that you have several classes that go through the year. So anyone could sign up at any time. There's always something happening, which is great because it's very flexible with everyone's schedule and whatever they don't have to wait a year or that time to sign up. So what other success stories do you see in women who have taken your course and are still part of your community? Because you do have something afterwards for the alumni. So can you share a little bit some other transformation you've seen?
Oh, for sure. This is so fun because our next level, we have our Live Your Vision Mastermind, which is our entry level, which is what we were talking about, is that year-long program. But then those that are successful in graduating from that have the opportunity to continue on into our alumni program, level 1, which is Expand Your Vision. We have a level 1 and a level 2 now. If you complete the second level, you can go on to the third level, which we've already discovered, which we've already started as well. But some of the success stories from the alumni, we'll call them, are pretty amazing. One of them in particular was an attorney that came to me and was really a very small time regional player at the time, very insecure, if you could believe it, but really held herself back from doing a lot of things at that time, whether it was in her relationship with her family or her career. Since that time and growing through her confidence and clarity and who she is and what she's really destined for, she's since grown to become the chairperson of the American Bar Association for the Youth at Risk, and has passed an anti-racism bill in the House of Delegates. She's hosted her own events. As a matter of fact, I think she's just finished up part of her additional work that she's doing, which is speaking to judges all around the country on anti-racism in the youth and family world. And so she's doing some significant work there now. As a matter of fact, her anti-racism bill got taken not only nationally, but all the way to Geneva to the UN. And she's doing spectacular work now on so many levels and speaks all around the country on this. It's just a beautiful thing. Another one of those women has had moved from a Department of Defense position and also a wife and mom. All of her family got baptized. They became Christians. They grew in their faith. In addition to that, she got a new role with a beautiful consulting company that was much more aligned with her values and has had 3 promotions. And I can't even begin to tell you how many raises she's gotten in 1 year. And so it's just significant. Her leadership for herself and her has transformed her family and her work. And she's just doing phenomenal. I can go on and on. There's another woman
That's
who just
incredible.
recently was running from leadership, within the corporate space of engineering, absolutely running from leadership. But after going through the Live Your Vision program, seeing what gifts she did have, she was built in her confidence and then went on to take on a leadership role in her corporate job through Raytheon in that world, in the engineering world, and on top of that has her own coaching practice simultaneously. The collection of the 10 women that just went through that Expand Your Vision program, I can go on and on. The stories never stop, but every single one of them increased their income, their impact, and their fulfillment and within that year, they added to their already significant income an additional $300,000 plus dollars. When I say that it makes a difference when you lay the foundation of the work that we do in the Live Your Vision, like you understand who you are and what you're capable of, and then you start putting it to work in your leadership, oh my gosh.
And you sustain.
The impact, the income, the fulfillment just multiplies. It just continues to multiply. So
yes, and Expand Your Vision, from my understanding as well, you have for personal well-being, but you have a specific one for if career is of matter. It's catered to different needs as well, right?
yeah. Yeah. We have actually now, oh my gosh, Alexandra, since this
New
year
things.
has been
That was
so
going to be my next question. So what is next?
okay.
What's new? So go ahead. Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's been an explosive year. I will say that because we obviously had the mastermind. And so the team has grown from just me and my assistant to now there's 16 of us on the team. And so it's now, and not just this year, that happened over the last several years, but in addition to that, we have added to our original mastermind program, which is still our baby and still my personal favorite because I just watch women just glow up is the best way to say it in my daughter's vernacular. They just glow up. My own daughter did the program and she's now it's crazy, but she's got an Instagram channel, a TikTok channel, and she made $17,000 last month on her TikTok channel. So she's just blown up with this crazy. So we love watching women just come into their own and do what they're doing. But the interesting thing is that now with the programs we have are the mastermind, as we said, we also have what we call our weekend edition, which is a self-paced. We're launching that in the fall. It's been in our midst, the self-paced edition, but we're rebranding it and adding some different things to it. So for those that really can't create space and schedule during the week with us to work with us in the cohort, they have that. After you graduate from that level, that's the entry level, then there's the opportunity, as you mentioned, to go on to the second level, which is our alumni program called Expand Your Vision. And that's offered in 3 forms. There's the level 1 and the level 2, but leadership and business development or personal development. Yeah. And then we had been asked so many times by people, what is it that's so different about the way that you coach? And we said, we do have our own kind of secret sauce, if you will. There's lots of styles of coaching, whether it's life coaching or professional coaching or executive coaching or strategic coaching. There's lots of styles. We consider ours transformative coaching. And so we actually created or codified, I'll say, our own, bottled the magic and created our own transformative coaching certification. So we launched that just in March, and we had 12 women come from around the country to be certified as transformative coaches. And so that's a new program that we offer. If you have a leadership desire, and whether you've ever done any of our programs or not, you're welcome to join us in that. We do those periodically throughout the year. They're 5-day intensives. It's what they are. We spend the entire 5 days together learning, and it's fabulous. It's incredible. And then we also have a corporate leadership program that we've launched because we have been asked about our leadership too. And our leadership is a little different than the typical be the best, brightest, and boldest. It's really not, that's not how we lead. So we've been asked to bring
Especially
that leadership
women.
into yeah, exactly. We've been asked to bring that leadership style into the corporate space that helps women really bridge the gap between their personal and professional lives and look at it much more holistically so they can excel in both areas.
I love that you don't really shy away from the true work, right? Because that's the
No,
only work
you're right.
that's important. That's where and then that's where the transformation comes from. So I really appreciate that. And I'm gonna be getting all the links that I will put in the show notes as well. So everyone listening to us can find you and find your programs based on what they need to transform their lives. So thank you so much. What an incredible time I had with you. I wish you the best with every program. I knew of some that were going to be launched. I love to meet everyone, your team. Your daughter is part of your team as well. You mentioned her with her TikTok and YouTube channel. So I got to meet her as well. It's something when we meet in person, but it's so amazing that we have the opportunity to do all this also through technology. A great way to learn so much and receive the support that we need. So thank you so much, Julie. I really appreciate you and I wish you the best.
No, my gosh, thank you, Alexandra. And I'm very excited to be a part of this continued journey with you. I'm so proud of you and so honored. And I always, like I said, just knew you were extraordinary. And clearly I was not wrong.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend and we'll be in touch. I know that you always stay in touch and thank you. I really appreciate
Yes.
your support. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you,
care.
my friend.
Bye.
I hope you loved this episode. So here are 5 key takeaways that I want to leave you with. Number 1, our lives are for God's glory, not just ours, and He uses every part for good. Romans 12 verses 4 and 5 reminds us that we are all unique parts of His body, the church, and He can use each of us for His purposes. Number 2, together we rise. Transformation thrives within a community of believers. Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 and 12 reminds us that 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Number 3, clarity for action. Action follows clarity, and clarity comes from God. So lean in, my friend. Number 4, daily uplift. Hebrews 10 verses 24 and 25 reminds us that we need daily encouragement. So let's encourage one another. And the best way to do it is within this community or a group coaching program. Number 5, seek coaching. Proverbs 12 verse 15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise person listens to advice." So be wise and find a program to help you grow. Stay tuned also for my upcoming programs. And if you're interested in knowing more about Julie Landi's programs, check the show notes with all the links. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a review below or on Apple Podcast. If you found today's message encouraging, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us also reach more listeners. Thank you. Bye for now.